Hi, my name is Debra Richardson, and I have stiff person syndrome. This will be the first in a series of videos I hope to make called Fireside Chats. I have had stiff person syndrome for almost 30 years, and I would like to share with you some things that I have learned along the way. I'm going to talk today about after the diagnosis. The diagnosis is very frightening. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Stiff person syndrome is a very vicious and cruel neurological illness. There are variants. You have come a long way to get this diagnosis, and by this time your symptoms are probably very painful and severe. On the positive side, there are lots of things that can be done to help these symptoms, but it takes time. We all are waiting for that hopeful cure. I was diagnosed in 1994. Dr. DeLacus had not done his IVIG study at NIH yet, but there was a preliminary little study done by Simon Helfgott at Brigham and Women's on stiff person syndrome, and so it was thought to be a hopeful cure for me. Well, it wasn't, but it did give me a quality of life, along with medication and a lot of time. My mantra is patience, persistence, perseverance with prayer. It takes a lot of hard work that you have to do, mentally and physically. There are some variants that are very resistant to treatment. I have lost friends to these variants. But then I have friends who soar. They are on minimal medication and they're able to function and work jobs. My very best stiff person friend and mentor had stiff person for 30 years. He passed at a young age, but not from the syndrome, from something else. But I asked him, I said, if you had to choose a neurological illness to have, which one would you choose? And he was quiet for a minute. Then he told me stiff person syndrome. I said, why would you pick that one? He said, because it's the only one I know. The hard part is coming to terms with it mentally and emotionally, and I'm going to tell you, you never really do. You come to a place where you acknowledge that you have this, and you have it for life. But when people say, just accept it, go on, you rally up, you cope, but coping is a daily endeavor, just like taking your medications. So I cope. I take my medications, I try, I fail, I succeed, but I keep trying. One of the best things you can do for yourself, outside of constantly trying within your level of physical ability, is to know the syndrome. Do not go by everything you read on the internet. Trust only peer-reviewed PubMed articles that are done by reputable neurologists who study the illness and oversee each other's work. That is where you get the true factual information. The second thing you need to do is understand your symptoms. And when you are given a medication, go to either RX List or Medline and check the pharmaceutical pages for what your medication does, what it should not do, and any adverse reactions, because they could be reactions between other medications you're taking for other illnesses, or it could be just your body, the way it responds to the medication. I have a child who is super sensitive to any kind of prescription medication, and they are healthy, but they have a sensitivity to medication. So read and know what the medication should do for you, because it could exacerbate symptoms or create new ones, and you think you're getting worse, but it's actually the medication. I had an adverse reaction to a medication on the second dose that left me in a full body spasm on a bathtub floor. But I was expecting that because I had read the medication and knew what to look for. So know your medications, that's up to you. As I told one of my doctors once, they are the coach. I am the one playing the game. He can only make the plays from the playbook. I am the one that's out there eating dirt. I have to know the rules of the game, have to know what my abilities are, and how I can execute whatever plays he gives me. That's my responsibility. And that's what I'm telling you. Know your body. One thing you can do is cut unnecessary negatives from your life. Unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way. It meant letting go of friendships, relationships, things that were toxic to me emotionally. You have to say goodbye to them. It's not worth your health. I realize I have a limited amount of energy a day. I plan my day accordingly to what I'm able to do within medication peaks. I create a very soothing atmosphere in my home. A lot of times it's very quiet, or it's music. If you do not have a sensitivity to sound, I enjoy music. I enjoy the quiet. Now that I do not have children at home, and I loved it when I was raising my children, I can be selfish about my time. So I'm not beholden to a clock or time restraints. I just plan my day according to me. I have some days I call bed days. Not bad days, but bed days. There are days when I need to rejuvenate myself mentally, physically, and spiritually. And I will take a day where I sleep. And I feel no guilt about it. It is as necessary to me as the medications I take. You can't neglect your health. You can't focus so much on the syndrome that you don't watch what you eat. Supplements, you have to be careful. Sometimes they can interact. My neurologist, he recommends certain supplements to make me have a healthier nervous system. But you need to run these by your doctor. Do not take things without checking with your doctor first, because it can cause adverse reactions. And a lot of that will determine how well you feel. Never, ever give up hope. But don't lose today based on a tomorrow that you don't have yet. And don't lose today by looking over your shoulder at a yesterday that's gone. Within my journey, when I lost certain abilities, and I grieved, and I still do, not like I did in a different sort of way, a more nostalgic way, so to speak, much like getting older. I'm older now, and you look back like when I was younger, I could do this. But I found within me other things I was capable of doing. And I found hidden talents that I didn't know I had. And I focused on those. So my suggestion to you would be, instead of looking at what you can no longer do, look at what you can do. When it comes to the medical fields, people you have to deal with, you're not going to find too often a doctor who is knowledgeable in stiff person syndrome. There are 7,000 rare diseases. Neurological disorders tend to mimic one another. Spasticity is something we have in common with MS. We have a lot of characteristics as why we are misdiagnosed with conversion disorder, because of the agoraphobic and the panic phobias that are, in our case, because of stiff person, but we share a lot of symptoms. So it's going to be hard to find a doctor who is knowledgeable in stiff person, but you can look for a neurologist who is a very knowledgeable man who is willing to listen to you and to study the illness. And when you have that, you've got a good doctor, and they're out there. But you have to present yourself You have to distance yourself when you go to the doctor, not with emotion and victimization or fear. And sometimes you will experience that, but you have to go as you're going to be discussing with your doctor your health care, what's best for you. You have to go knowledgeable. You have to go unemotional. You have to go where he can respect your opinion and not have to worry about theatrics. You have to go and be a joint effort in discussing your treatment and therapy and where you go from there. This is going to sum it up for my first fireside chat. Just a few things that off the top of my head I wanted to share with you. And may God bless you, keep you safe, and always, always hope. Thank you.